Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the SMA Audio Experience Podcast. This week, we're continuing on our fantastic series of featuring the wonderful sponsors who participated in the most recent SMA Spring Fling fundraiser event for this year of 2018. We're blessed to have on the phone none other than Mr. Greg Cerezo. He's the one of the lead instructors and partner with St. Michael Academy in teaching the Cali for Kids program. Mr. Greg, hey, thanks for joining us on this fantastic Wednesday. How are things going today?
Great, Mark. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's great to be here with you. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, we've known each other for a good handful of years. Obviously the Academy has known you for a very good handful of years, and you brought a lot of value to many children and their families. So what I like to showcase and let everybody on the podcast and those who are listening who are brand new to our channel or who are frequent listeners of our channel is to let them know and learn more about this fantastic art that you teach and you share with the kids. So, and that art happens to be the art of Kali. For those who don't know that, can you share a little bit about the origin story of the martial art, and then also your origin story of you as an individual and as a teacher of the art?
Sure. Kali, of course, it comes from the Philippines, and there's many different families that teach their way of Kali or their art of Filipino martial arts. Our art happened to be handed down from Leo Gahe Jr., and he passed his art on to Apolo Ladra. Apolo Ladra is a very reputable martial arts on the East Coast, and we'll get to him later. But for myself, I originally started in junior high with Kung Fu. Choi Lei Foot with all my junior high friends, Arlie, Simon, Noel, Brian, and we'd ride our bikes for Saturday lessons at the high school and study Kung Fu. And it was so fun because I never learned anything about martial arts. But then the instructor left. He went back to China. So I didn't study anymore. So that's what happened in the beginning. And then I found Taekwondo with other classmates. We learned Taekwondo under Tony Thompson, and he was the future partner of Ernie Reyes with the West Coast Taekwondo.
Oh wow, Ernie Reyes, wow.
Yes, studied under those guys. They were teaching under their own schools under Master Choi. They each had a school, and I studied under Tony Thompson, and Ernie Reyes had his school in San Jose. And it was a lot of work. It was all the safety measures weren't there, and it was just a lot of kicking and punching and fighting. And then they went on to found the West Coast Taekwondo. And by that time, when they founded that, I had left. I had graduated from school, and I had joined the Navy. And so everywhere I was stationed, I'd look for places to train because I love the martial arts. And then, and then as I ended up here in San Diego, I was a Navy pilot stationed everywhere, a lot of different places throughout the world. And when I came back and settled in San Diego, I trained with the Tang Soo Do, the local Tang Soo Do here, and that's when I went to the martial arts super show and met Mr. Apolo Ladra, and that was my introduction to Kali.
When you went to that martial arts super show, when you first met Master Apollo, around like what year was that? So we give some context to the listeners of like how long you have.
Sure, that was in 2011. I was teaching since 2008. I was teaching Tang Soo Do, and then 2011 I went to the martial arts super show and I met Master Apolo Ladra, and he introduced me to Kali. And once I saw his demonstration of the blade and what the Filipino martial arts were all about, I flew to him. I flew to his studio in Florida for 10 days and I trained with those guys.
Wow. And at that time you were living in San Diego, and you actually flew across the country to go train.
Exactly. I didn't know hardly anything about Filipino martial arts, and I flew out there, and he had a big school with a lot of reputable martial artists and Filipino martial artists. And when I trained over there, he became my Filipino martial art instructor, and so I'd go there every 6 months to train with him, and then it went from there.
Wow. Okay. So, for those listening, so we've had many guests, everything from, principals, teachers, educators, lay people, former alumni and everything, and see there's a common theme that we get to hear from, different, adults, young adults, and veterans and everybody would see there. It echoes of, a determination, work ethic, willing to do the things, have that discipline to do things that others aren't willing to do, such as not knowing too much about, a potential new, mentor or instructor, and, using your own money, and traveling across, traveling vast distances to actually train, very seriously, to go learn like a new art and everything like that. Not, like your average person isn't willing to do that. So that's a very important point that are the listeners that we have, whether they be, young students in high school, college, or, adults trying to, find maybe their next career or the next wave to, get them to another level. Those are great points in your stories right there that I want to make sure that people take note of. Those are
thank you so much.
Yeah, those are great
things.
He
he helped me discover, I'm a Filipino. He helped me discover the culture, the Filipino culture, through the martial arts. And it really helped me learn more about my culture through the Filipino martial arts. That's what he did for me and for many others too. So that's one of his things that he's done for many martial artists.
Nice. And, that gets us right into this, a great segue into the next topic is, there's a lot of people who, especially in this day and age where there's tons of information, right? There's the internet, and we have internet information at our fingertips. I can only imagine, a common question that someone may ask who's not really familiar, maybe with martial arts, either for themselves or their children, is, why maybe choose Kali versus other forms of martial arts, or, would Kali be a great martial arts to start with, or should a kid start with something else first and then move their way into it? Can you kind of go deeper into those questions?
Sure, I can. Traditional martial arts are very good. I started in traditional martial arts. A very good curriculum, a lot of training, and the kids learn a lot of discipline and character. It's really a preference. I thought that for a long time, and I still do. It's very good. Any martial art's going to be good for a child or a kid. But what happened was, when I met the Master Apolo, and when I went to his school, I found out he developed a curriculum approved by the Grand Tuhon. And the curriculum he did was for kids. See, he used to run 57 Taekwondo schools for 30, 40 years in the 80s, starting in the 80s and 90s. And he used Kali to retain his students. But then when he used it to retain his students, he was a Taekwondo master, very reputable. Oh, an Olympian in the first Olympics, very, very well known on the East Coast. But what he did is he developed a curriculum for kids, a Kali for kids, and it was similar to all the other martial arts curriculums, because in the Filipino martial arts, it's so vast. It's hard to organize all the thoughts and the principles and the attributes to get a child or a kid to function. But he did it. He's the first. I don't think anybody else has ever done. As a matter of fact, his curriculum is so reputable. It's being taught to over 40,000 kids in Taekwondo schools. And it's growing worldwide. And FKA San Diego was the first. This is since 2011. And this curriculum, he was smart because he organized it, taking somebody from no experience at all in the martial arts to a kid who could function. It's organized. The curriculum's organized. It gives kids, it's a principle base, taught as a concept, and it's thought-provoking. So he based it on the kids repeating certain things to gain attributes where they can function without thought. It's based on muscle memory. So where traditional schools are doing hundreds of reps, our students are doing thousands of repetitions. Thousands of reps is the same thing. Why are they able to do thousands of reps? Because he disguised the techniques through dozens of drills in his curriculum. So that's what, if they're getting such good muscle memory that they don't think about any kind of, when somebody punches, they just move. It just comes out of them. So that's how the kids, we have the curriculum. It's very well organized. It's a 3-year curriculum and beyond. So any kid who wants to continue with it. And so I found that a lot of the reasons the kids stay is they have these aha moments when we tell them, we show them the attributes, the drills, and with a stick, and then we take away the sticks, and their hands are moving exactly the way we want them to, and we say, here's what it really, really means. And they go, and you can see in their eyes, their eyes light up. They go, wow, can we just practice that technique? Yeah, because they understand that it's a move that they can use if somebody touches them. And sometimes they'll spend an hour practicing one technique, and that's just great because once they get in the zone, we'll let them, and then we'll move on from there. Because that's how that works. The curriculum is just phenomenal. So it's being tapped by, last year at the Martial Arts Super Show, the pre-conference event, people flew in from Hong Kong, Brazil. They flew in from, from Philippines to learn his concept and his curriculum to teach thousands of other kids.
That has to say something where there's some not just say U.S. or domestic recognition, but global recognition. When you start talking companies and international travel, where obviously when you have great minds gathering in one split in a place for like a conference or something, there's just a tons of the value that masterminding like that can bring so much to the whole martial arts community. That's amazing.
It is, and the hard thing about it is he needs other instructors because he's tapped to go to Australia. They want him in. He's going to Argentina next month, and before the Super Show, he'll be in Spain, and he missed. And then after that, he'll go to Australia, then to the Philippines. He's doing this almost as a one-man show. His curriculum, because the way he organized it, people want it. I mean, one of his videos had over 7 million hits, and he's getting calls. He's getting calls from Dubai saying, "Can you teach my kid?" And it's difficult for him to do it. So he's now got programs online, heartofblade.com. So that's what happened there.
That is so cool. Just to even from and obviously we have a lot of small business owners and parents and who are business owners or who have that business acumen and everything like that. That this is something that it's a great opportunity to look into as well. That sounds so amazing. Of what you can do with it. And so that begs me to question is, what you've been doing this for, over a handful of years, more than a handful of years. And how has your teaching, with the kids, how individually, like for yourself, how has that progressed, obviously, since you started? Obviously you have more years of experience, but, what's the, like how has your teaching aha moments, come about? How have they been for you?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you so much. The kids are great, and I'm still learning about teaching kids. It's a never-ending cycle of joy. What I found is kids want to have fun. And what Master Apolo did is he disguised all these techniques in his curriculum to give these kids attributes to function in an altercation. And at the same time, they're getting exercise. They're having fun, and they're discovering some pretty good self-defense techniques. And so my teaching has changed to the fact that his one concept has almost changed it all. And that concept he teaches is called learn to teach to learn. Whereas in the traditional martial arts schools where I taught before, you had all the black belts who were at the top and they taught all the kids. The kids did what they said. Some of the black belts may have been assistants, and the hierarchy is different. In our school, and the way he taught it, the hierarchy is different because of his learn to teach to learn. In the traditional martial arts schools, to be an instructor, you've got to be a black belt. You've got to go through the oral board, get certified, get the certificate. And his system, if a kid knows a concept, if a kid knows a technique and a drill, they teach another kid. You can tell who knows it. And can you teach little Jill how to do that? Or can you show Gabriel how to do that series? Yes, sir, I can do that. And the kid will teach it. Or can you teach Lana how to do entry 4 and entry 6? Yes, sir. So now the kids are becoming the teachers. I'm no longer stressed with teaching 40 kids. I've got 12 kids who can teach 8 kids each and teach them well because they know it so well. And while they're teaching the techniques to the kids, they're actually mastering the technique. So the hierarchy is different in teaching. So in the end, I'm teaching, but what I'm really doing is sharing my knowledge to the kids and who share with others, because that's a part of the Filipino culture to share. So in my school, I'm teaching leaders. These kids are leaders. They'll lead a class. I got one kid who taught, I saw her teach this one thing. I teach these kids the loads, will you? And I sat in the corner and watched how she did it. What she did is she drew a stick figure of all the places to put the stick, where you put the stick if you're going to fight somebody. and she put 1 through 8, and she drew it on the board, and then every kid looked at it, they understood it, and then she led the class. And then each kid went up there and said high load, shoulder load, and each kid was doing it. And so each kid did it 10 times. That's 100 reps. And each kid got to lead the class. And I said nothing. That was her way of teaching the kids, because every kid teaches differently or learns differently. I wanted to hug that kid. But that's the teaching has changed. And that's not only for our school, but that's the way all the FKAs, which there are many Filipino Kali academies now throughout the country. I mean, they've even changed the name to some of the school owners have changed their names to FKA Georgia, FKA Denver, and they're adopting the same techniques from the curriculum as taught by Master Apolo. So that's how the teaching has changed over the last, years. That's done it all. I'm not stressed with teaching 40 kids. Kids will teach other kids. It's a great thing. Believe me.
It sounds such like it's such a repeatable, scalable process, for someone, looking at it. And, there's many, we have a lot of people who serve our country with, tons of honor, who served or former or retired. And, it echoes that principle that I remember that, my father, taught to me was, learn it, do it, and then teach it. Right. It's along those same lines, like in the military. Right. And the value comes from teaching it, because you're reinforcing, what you're training a new person who's new to it. So, just it echoes some of those same principles. Would you not agree?
I agree totally. That changed it all for me in the last decade. It changed it all. As a matter of fact, I had a kid last Sunday. She's teaching all the 16, 10-year-olds and under, 12-year-old and under. And what I did, I said, hey, what kind of coffee do you want? We're going to Starbucks. And I laughed. And she taught the class. I came back and she said, I'd like a tea. And she is 13 years old. And she taught that she ran it well. And the adult, I had one adult in there just to observe and watch, and kind of like be a safety observer. I wanted to give her the confidence, and he could not believe. He goes, hey, man, she knows how to teach. Kids were filtering afterwards. She knew who to pair everybody up with. She knew exactly what to do, because I've learned to teach to learn. And it's phenomenal. So we have to thank Master Tuhon Apolo Ladra for that one.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And, that sounds, fantastic of what you've built, what you're building right now. I mean, that only begs the question of, so what are the future plans for, the Kali for Kids program and the school that you lead and teach here in San Diego?
Oh, the future of the schools, it looks good. These kids, first of all, the art itself lends itself to, to leadership, because we share it. It's just the way it's taught, and it's growing throughout the country. There's over 40,000 kids in the program being taught this art, the way it was visioned to be taught by and spread to be taught by Master Tuhon Apolo Ladra. See, what he wanted to do is he wanted to bridge the gap between the older Filipinos and the youth, and we are the ones who do that because we understand the older Filipinos and we understand the youth. And so FKA San Diego was the first. So I'd like to continue to be the model program. As a matter of fact, in Las Vegas, a lot of the kids from our program are going to Las Vegas and actually train with Master Apolo. Now, when they train, I hope they're not nervous, because there's going to be a couple hundred martial artists in there and watching these kids train. And some of these martial artists, they're school owners with 400 or 500 kids. They've been in the martial arts for 40 years, and they're going to get to see our kids. As a matter of fact, the president of the Century Martial Arts, he's the one who puts on the show. He'll be at the seminar. He'll look at these kids. So for the future plans is to hopefully go to other schools that are like St. Michael's. I'm already in Our Lady of Mount Carmel. I'd like to be in some more of the fiat schools and the other schools, private schools, public schools. Right now, I'm training some other instructors to go ahead and spread the art, so we can continue growing and teaching our leaders to be, really good citizens in our community.
Amazing. I mean, and the relationship of, the art that you're teaching and its principles, that symbiotic relationship is, very in line with, obviously the core principles of, the Catholic school system, the Catholic education, the principles that I know that they really strive to enforce and really nurture at St. Michael's, along with all the other fiat schools. So such a great partnership. That is amazing. And, for those who want to get more information, like where can they find you, like on your website or social media? What's the
Sure.
best way to get information?
Best way is we have a website, fkasandiego.com. You can see us on Facebook, FKA San Diego. For any school owner or any practitioner who wants to learn more about Filipino martial arts, specifically this style is taught by Tuhon Apolo, you can go to artofblade.com. He's got an online program for people who want to just do self-improvement. And he's got also programs for school owners to add this to their current school, no matter what art they teach. It's also an independent art, and it can be a complement to any other art. So that's where you can find information.
Great. Well, I want to take a quick moment, and I know that you usually have a very packed schedule, but want to take a moment and want to commend you and thank you so much, Mr. Greg, for giving of yourself to this art, to this community, extending the culture, of being a representative and a role model for not just the art, but for the Filipino culture of what makes this diversity and sharing of these different values with the community, who's comprised of many other ethnicities and cultures. We want to appreciate you and thank you for being so giving and sharing of that, because it's just only added a lot of value to the next generation, which is these young leaders growing and nurturing in the community, especially here in San Diego.
Oh, no. Thank you so much, Mr. Mark Torrey. I really appreciate it. Thank you to Ms. Johnson, who allowed the program to come in to St. Michael's. Thank you to Sister Eva, who allowed the program to come to Our Lady of Mount Carmel. Thank you to all the parents involved in the program, from the Liberty Station parents to the Inspire schools. We're in other schools now. And so I want to thank anybody associated with the program helping me, which really helps their kids. So thank you so much again, Mark. I really appreciate this.
Awesome. Well, everybody, that was a remarkable conversation. Please, if you've had any interest or this has really sparked, your curiosity, please, I'll go ahead and put the links and information that Mr. Greg has cited in the interview. I'll put them into the show notes so that, when you're on your iPhone or your smartphone or on your computer, when you go into the show notes, you can easily click on those links and check out, all the links for, him or Master Apolo, and get to there. But with that being said, another fantastic episode. Thanks everyone for joining us on the SMA Audio Experience podcast. Please have a blessed week. We'll talk to you soon. Look out for the next episode. Take care for now.